Hello and welcome to the Watson Weekend. I'm Rick Watson.
Hi, I'm Jessica Liseski. We are here to call retail's bluff with a smirk and a spreadsheet.
Each week, we untangle the mess behind the headlines, from warehouse walkouts to boardroom flameouts.
Think of this as retail fit therapy for your newsfeed, MBA level insight with barroom level honesty. We almost believe our own stuff here, Rick.
Yes, I think not almost. We actually believe our own stuff.
We do actually believe our stuff.
It's kind of a mess here.
It is. It is. I'm actually surprised you showed up. Life of a Showgirl dropped. I thought you'd be one of the 6% of workers who have, called in the day they phoned it in to celebrate, as only a Swiftie could. So but you showed up for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not the same as you. I was just trying to figure out, why is all this Showgirl videos in my YouTube feed?
Yeah.
And you clued me in.
I did.
Thank you.
I'm here for you. You're just like one Us Weekly subscription away from all the pop culture you need. Okay.
I am. You've always been a big fan of us.
Yes, I know. Help you out. So, because the stars are just like us, Rick. They're people too.
Yeah. And, speaking of stars, we have a lot of stars that are helping support the program. Why don't you tell us about that?
That's right. Well, the star we have to thank today is Miracle, because growth isn't just about speed. It's about direction. Miracle gives you infrastructure to scale smarter, not just faster, with a marketplace dropship, retail, and seller platform powered by AI and built for what's next. Thank you, Miracle, for bringing this fine program yet again to the world.
Yes, thank you again, Miracle. Definitely check out Miracle. Actually, I just heard an announcement this week that Tesco is going to be on Miracle's platform. That's actually news that just dropped yesterday. So congrats to Miracle on that big win.
Yeah, congrats. I think they just are knocking them down left and right. It is kind of the go-to if you're going to hook in a marketplace as a retailer.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of, I'm going to be in Charlotte in just 2 weeks for the first inaugural Lowe's Marketplace Summit. I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm going to be there. And it's an invite-only event. So if you know, you know.
Man, I did not get that invitation, but I'm not going to take offense to that. So,
yes.
All right. Well, why don't we hit it? There was a lot of news this week and we can't hold back. Let's give the people what they want with the headline Hangover.
This first one is actually not. Are we doing the thing, or are we not doing the thing?
Yeah, we're doing the thing.
All right. Here we go. More than 1 in 10 Gen Zs buy what? Jess. Man. Remember, this is a game where we both have access to headlines, the other does not have. You need to guess the missing words. So what do Gen Zs buy?
I know I'm going to get this wrong. I'm fuzzy today. It's been a long week. I'm going to say more than 1 in Gen Zs buy what? This is like a coffee, Starbucks, Starbucks. Is it a Labubu? Give it. I don't know. Give it to me.
What influencers recommend, Jess? The influencers, the Insta people love the track there. There's a couple of things here. Obviously, Gen Z is not like us. We're Gen Xers. That's aren't we?
I kind of teeter. I'm between.
Yeah,
I'm younger than you. So
correct. That is 100% true. So there was a study done by Payments Intelligence Report, 25,000 U.S. responses. Says 14% of Gen Z regularly make purchases based on influencer recommendations, which is 20 times higher than their parents and grandparents. That's the big mic drop moment here. But there were a couple of other interesting stats from the studies, and I just want to call out 2 of them. One is, it's a little bit surprising that Gen Z saves 36% of their income compared to 27% of all other demographics, which is, I think, interesting. Maybe it's because they still live with their parents.
True.
Boom.
Yeah.
On the other thing is that more than half of Gen Z takes on side hustles, which I could believe.
Yes, absolutely.
The gig economy is a thing, and it's how else would people pay down or keep up with their credit card debts?
Or their buy now, pay later payments, or Klarna. There, I
Correct.
said it.
We're looking at you, Klarna.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, those Biore pants ain't going to pay for themselves on a one-time payment. I got to pay over time. So,
correct.
yes. Yes. I'm not surprised. I do think this is why, like going throwback to last week's episode, Kristen has built what is a gold mine in this creator community and marketplace, because this
Who
is
crushed it last week, by the way.
She's amazing.
Crushed it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. She, really has kind of materialized and helped monetize those micro influencers. And those are the ones that are having, I think, a lot of clout. It's not just the celebs anymore. It's the people who look like you, right? Or the people who you feel more related to that are driving a lot of this demand. So, all right. We'll hit my story
Sounds
next.
good.
Yeah.
0-0. Let's just say we're both
0.
still even.
I bombed big on that. All right, let's see what you got here, Watson. MasterCard makes bigger grab for commerce. What with new network? I think Vinny. I think you big money to Vinny. If you don't get
commerce advertising.
Oh no, media dollars. So, I mean, maybe that would give you a half a point for that if I'm feeling generous. So MasterCard is on this retail media network train. They're not just swiping cards anymore. They're swiping ad budgets. They rolled out this commerce media network, tapping into its 500 million enrolled customers and 160 billion in annual transactions. So translation here, it knows exactly where you shop, and now it's going to sell that insight to advertisers. Yes, they're going after the 100 billion US retail media market, which is the trajectory for 2028. They're promising precision targeting, end-to-end measurement, claims that brands are going to see a 22x
Wow.
ROAS on categories like travel, retail, and dining, which, let's be real, that is where those cards get swiped the most.
Correct.
They're bringing Citi, Microsoft for AI tie-ins, WPP for ad muscle. So the next time you hear that cha-ching, it's not going to be it may not be your credit card. It might be MasterCard cashing in on your data.
Yeah, I'm totally not surprised by this, even though I didn't get it fully correct. I see our producer Libby gave me half a point for this. I'm happy about that. But I mean, let's be honest, there is a lot of money to be had here, and I'm gonna be monetized one way or the other, whether through AI or through payments. So maybe
Someone
both.
is making something off of you.
They are, because I'm not paying for this stuff.
That's right. That's right. So no surprise, MasterCard diving into that pool and gonna swim with the rest of the fish.
Sounds good. On our next story, we're up. Social reports. Will the U.S. government manipulate TikTok's
algorithm?
Blank. Oh, wow. You should maybe get extra credit for the speed of the answer.
I think speed and accuracy, right? I mean, I got most of the letters.
Yeah. Could you spell algorithm? That is my question.
If I can put it into ChatGPT. Yeah.
Correct. Great job. Anyway, we have heard that the government has solved the TikTok ownership problem, though we are not sure when it will actually materialize. But here's what we know about the ownership group. It will be 100% picked by the U.S. government. I've heard names like Rupert Murdoch involved and Larry Ellison. I'm sure there's some Silicon Valley elite somewhere in here. The concern of the whole situation is, will the U.S. government have quote-unquote algorithmic insight into what's happening in TikTok? Meaning, like, it could put the thumb on the scale as to what's being promoted or demoted. Frankly, there's too much data for this to happen, like, at mass scale, but it doesn't mean it won't ever happen.
Right. Yes. I'm going to take that situation and raise that situation to the sense of not only is it manipulating with the algorithms, but should we be concerned about what that data gets used for and what has insight? We were like afraid of China. Should we be more scared at this point? I don't really know. I try not to think about it. These are not the things I lose sleep over at night. They just are. No, erase. So.
Right.
All right. So I'm going to bring it home here with our final.
I love it.
Yes. All right. Let's see what you got here on our next. Stripe pushes what sales via chat?
Stripe pushes what sales? Stripe, the payment network, pushes AI. Is that like a default AI? I'll say AI.
You should, and you would be partially correct. You missed
Correct.
the agentic part.
Oh, okay.
Which is critical for this because Stripe is dropping what is now coined the Agentic Commerce Protocol.
Okay.
It's ChatGPT letting you buy that Etsy candle without lifting a finger. I think Libby's got an article that we can peruse and scroll through here. Consultants are already drooling, Rick. AI-driven commerce is projected to rocket from 136 billion this year to 1.7 trillion with a T by 2030. PayPal CEO even called this the biggest transformation since the advent of e-commerce. And here's what we're looking at, right? The bots are basically going to be your new personal shoppers and your credit card's worst nightmare.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. They're going to help you buy very quickly with a pay button on the ChatGPT results.
That's right. And, it's very timely because we were talking about just this very topic with Kiri in our interview. And I know you're going to announce her coming on in a bit. But, this is the whole dynamic, right? Which we've been waiting for the moment that ChatGPT and other LLMs were going to start closing the loop on that commerce experience. Not only are they just driving the traffic, they want to take that transaction, keep you in the ecosystem and make it super simple. Merchants are going to pay a small fee per purchase, details not fully disclosed. But, shoppers, it's going to be seamless for them. What do you think, Rick?
I think, look, ChatGPT is obviously already very important in the consideration and research cycle in retail. It's stormed onto the scene and seems unlikely to relinquish its position. I think the big questions are this, like how many players are going to be in the mix? There are folks like Scott Wingo, who has a fantastic blog and business called Retail Agentic, where he breaks down all the top players. Personally, I think you have kind of a two-horse race, Google and ChatGPT. Ultimately, ChatGPT seems aligned with Stripe right now. And Google is Google. They've had how many, even going back to our channel advisor days, how many chances did they have with Google Checkout and things, which didn't work out?
So many swings, so many misses.
many swings and misses. So the fact that OpenAI partnered with Stripe is actually, to me, good news for both partners together.
Yeah.
Whereas Google has not proved that they can create a valuable marketplace ever.
No.
So we'll see what happens there.
They haven't. And I got another thing for you, because when I heard Agentic Commerce Protocol, I didn't kind of first land in this world. Like I thought I was listening to some kind of fintech jargon but it actually is a lost chapter of Star Wars. Master Yoda, the Agentic Protocol has been activated. Thousands of droids are now buying scented candles across the galaxy. Episode 1, Phantom Checkout. Episode 2, Attack of the Subscriptions. Episode 3, Revenge of the Promo Code. So that's my new series.
I love it, and I'm waiting for the Clone Wars when the next person actually just makes the same thing over and over.
That's right. The robots are winning. Okay, yes. So just one closure here. P.S. I won in the head. Yes, so I think I'm really crushing it here. But ChatGPT also launched these new ads that are really making the customer the story, the hero in this story. So let's roll this one, and I just want to get your take on it. So here we have Elliot getting ripped for the summer.
Yeah.
Getting that summer bod. He wants to feel stronger. He wants to do some pull-ups by autumn. And his little sidekick, ChatGPT, is giving him the whole plan. But the real story here is Elliot's got all this time because he lost his job.
Oh, he out of work. Elliot, we sorry, you out of work.
I'm sorry, Elliot. But you can get ripped. Okay.
Right.
All right. Let's roll to the next one. We're going to call this guy Jim. We didn't know his name,
Yeah.
but we're going
It's
to
not
say
revealed.
he's Jim. He
Jim
is on
can
a
cook.
first date.
Jim can cook,
Yeah.
as
Jim's
the kids
cooking.
say.
Yeah. Jim has turned the work slop that he's created from all the AI prompts that he just puts into ChatGPT, never curates and throws over the fence to his coworkers. And while they're just dismantling all this random jargon, he's got some extra time on his hands to cook cook a meal for his hot new date.
Yeah, he's turned work slop into date slop.
Date slop. Yes.
It's
Yes. But you know what? ChatGPT said, don't sweat it. You got this.
You got this. He's pumping him up almost like your own personal bro coach.
That's right. And that's what we all need, right? Is another cheerleader in our corner. So those are the new ads. Will be interesting to see how that continues to evolve. I do commend them for bringing the heart and the warmth into the everyday. So
Yeah, and just also to convince us that they're on our side.
yes,
Sam Altman,
yes.
he's one of us.
He is one of us, and he wants us to win as humans. Okay,
Just to do that one push-up.
that's right. Pull up. Yes,
Sorry.
it's way harder than push-ups.
Correct. All right. So that is our headline hangover. We hope you're glad you followed us this week. Today on our show, we actually have a fantastic guest. Kiri and I have known each other for a number of years, back when she was the co-founder and CEO of Bobsled Marketing, which was an Amazon agency, among other things, that also helped retailers and brands with paid media. Kiri Masters is one of my favorite people in retail, a preeminent retail analyst. She produces a near daily podcast and newsletter, the Retail Media Breakfast Club, which has also turned into an in-person event in Atlanta. If you're there, you know.
Yes, that's right.
She has been the founder, as I mentioned, of an award-winning agency that was acquired by Acadia in 2022. She writes regular articles for The Drum, Forbes, and Work. Has been named a top retail expert by Rethink Retail for three consecutive years. We're huge Kiri fans, and we're so blessed that she came on our show too. This show is a little out there, especially my comments.
Might be a little lowbrow for her.
Yeah, she raises the level here. We're just blessed to have Kiri on the show.
That's right.
Well, we are pleased to have one of the greatest independent thinkers, I think, in not just retail media, although that's definitely her focus and her go-to-market and branding, but I think in retail as well. Kiri Masters is an independent analyst, commentator, podcast host. If you're not familiar with her newsletter and podcast, Retail Media Breakfast Club, it's informed by a decade in the industry as founder of Bobsled Marketing, which was acquired by another performance digital marketing agency called Acadia in 2022. She writes regular columns for a lot of outlets, has been named a top retail expert by Rethink Retail for the last 3 years. So welcome, Kiri, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. You've been on our wish list for a while, so good to finally make it happen today.
Here I am.
I think we needed to be on the same continent or something.
Yes.
Yeah, that took a while.
So, look, retail media, retail is hard. Retail is low margin. And so as a result, every retailer wants to use their leverage as best as possible to create new flywheels. And so one of the first flywheels beyond traditional retail, sort of like first-party retail, is third-party marketplace. So like, how can I get sellers through the marketplace so I don't have to pay for all this inventory? And, oh, by the way, now that I have all these sellers and I have more supply than demand, simple law of economics says that over a long enough timeline, you're going to start charging for advertising. So hence, retail media was born. And in a place where retailers have been paying, asking brands to pay for slotting, placements, end caps, like all these things in stores, it seems natural, but it's also natural that brands kind of view this with like a little bit of side eye. Am I giving like side eye? Like, talk to me about those dynamics. how's it play out? Like, how did we get here from your point of view, Kiri?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been in this space a while, not as long as some people, but the more I learn, the more I've realized I know nothing at all. And I've just come off the back of about 2 weeks at different events, industry events, talking with a lot of retailers privately and candidly about what their challenges are and what their challenges are with growing, and the internal politics and the expectations of advertisers, as well as my industry experience to date has largely been supporting brands. So I understand the frustrations of brands also. But the more I get into it, the more complicated it seems. And I know we're going to get to this later, but there's also this huge disruptive force emerging around AI-enabled shopping too.
Yeah.
So it's just going to get more and more. The waters are going to get even more muddy, I'm afraid. They already are. But I just want to put that out there, because I meet a lot of people who have come into the space through another route. I've meet practically no one who started their career in retail media, unless you're 25 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone comes from like tech. They come from publishing and advertising tech, or they come up through a retailer and they're asked with building out a retailer's media business, or they come from a brand perspective, or maybe an agency, which is typically from the brand side perspective as well. So everyone is trying to their best to learn the other sort of quadrants of the ecosystem, because there's different perspectives on each side, and there quite a bit of friction when you look at what is the outcome that an advertiser or brand is looking for, and what is the outcome that a retailer is looking for. And you'd like to imagine that there are lots of wins and great collaboration available. There is, but then there's also just a lot of incentives that aren't necessarily aligned, or things that are just technically difficult to do, and internal politics and things like that get in the way of what could be quite a collaborative business to work on.
I mean, I guess let's start there. Is there alignment between the two sides? I mean, I have a lot of friends in the space. Literally, I was having a conversation last night by an agency that was servicing a 1P brand on Amazon, and they paid the fees for the deals on Prime Day. Halfway through Prime Day, the deal cut off. Zero email, zero explanation. I'm sure it wasn't performing. I mean, or it wasn't profitable enough, or both, probably. But who has the power in that situation? These 800-pound gorillas. So, is there alignment between the two sides, or can there ever be true alignment?
It's a difficult question. I will say, I'll say separating retailers versus brands for a second. Internally within a retailer and internally within a brand, there are conflicting expectations and pockets of money and organizational org charts and the way that things are aligned internally, which within a retailer, for example, you have the core business of selling widgets.
Right.
And there is the core merchant organization. Everything exists to sell more widgets to consumers. The retail media business doesn't have the objective of selling more widgets. It has the objective of selling more ad dollars. And what happens internally, there can be a lot of friction or just dismissal or just disinterest in the other side of the business. But for a brand, they're expecting we're building these ad campaigns to sell more widgets through this retailer. So when the merchant part of the organization is disengaged from the media part of the organization, that's very that's very disjointed for a brand, because they're like, hey, we're doing this just to sell more widgets with you. So that's just on the retailer side. And then on the brand side as well, there is, especially in larger companies that primarily sell wholesale, there is a shopper marketing, trade marketing teams, traditional sort of sales teams that sell to the retailers, and then a whole assortment of ways that brands can be set up organizationally to do the media buying as well. And that might be within the sales organization, could be within the marketing organization. Sometimes it's even like a separate sort of center of excellence as well. So then on the brand side, there can be a little organizational disruption as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think about all the different dynamics you just mentioned and things that are exchanging hands and teams that are involved, even internally within, let's say, a retailer that is powering their own retail media network or working with a third party for that. You have the dynamics of what the merchants want and the e-commerce team may want from a customer experience perspective, and then what that media experience is. And I think we've all, just to pick on Amazon for a second, you can shop a certain category and it's like sponsored, 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 like kind of all like littered throughout the search results. Who cares at that point, right? So do you find that there's also the push-pull dynamics internally between teams who might have different objectives for the customer experience and what they're trying to drive?
Absolutely. And I think that is a top concern from the retailer side, is what does that customer experience look like?
Yeah.
And are we going to be degrading the customer experience with all of these ads, particularly if you're talking about non-endemic advertisers? So if you let a car manufacturer advertise on your grocery website or something like that, that's disruptive because people are on a retailer.com to shop. And so that's really limited the pool of potential advertisers that a retail media network can bring in versus a traditional publisher like a, Forbes.com or something like that. They'll let anyone buy an ad because it's like, it's going to be disruptive no matter what the ad is. Whereas a retailer, they're trying to really balance media revenue, which is very lucrative, with GMV growth. And so they generally are not willing to sacrifice GMV growth for retail media revenue, which I think is probably a positive outcome for pretty much everyone except for the people leading the retail media network within the retailer.
Yeah. Do you find in the planning process that goals do get aligned? So if you're in retail media, and I'm sure you've advised folks on this in the past, how are you setting your revenue and your margin targets versus maybe what the merchant team or the e-commerce team or whoever's kind of driving that planning and budget? Like, how do you find, are those conversations happening or they're still pretty siloed?
It's there's a lot of diversity around organizational charts and who's responsible for which pots of money within brands. I haven't seen any super clear direction of where things are headed that way. It depends a lot on the organization. If you're talking about a CPG, a really traditional CPG conglomerate, they're going to have a different way of doing things versus a challenger brand that doesn't. So, and this is actually a very interesting observation I heard from a CPG conglomerate earlier this week. They are Amazon will compare their media spend, this really big company that has to buy all the bells and whistles in store, has to spend a ton on trade because they're a big name. They get compared against these challenger brands on Amazon that don't have any trade spend. They're not in stores. They're not, buying, and displays or anything like that. So where does all of their performance marketing budget budget go?
Right.
It goes
Right.
into
It goes
Amazon ads. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that they're just pumping money into retail media because it works. It
Sure.
works really well. But they don't have this sort of overhead that a big traditional CPG does, where they're being asked to pay this guy here, that guy. Like, there's just so many people with their hands out. If you're a huge CPG, just asking for money, and those activations can perform really well. But it's just that there's so much to hand out, and there's a lot of drag on your team internally to figure out, okay, what's driving results and how to rationalize it. So it's just a huge overhead on a brand when they've got more places to spend that money versus a challenger brand. They can choose one channel and pump the money in there, and it works pretty well.
Yeah.
Do you think, I mean, I think the org topic is so fascinating because I think the people problem and accountability and who gets credit for what is at the root of a lot of organizational problems in across retail everywhere. And so do you think the people that are doing it right tend to have one owner for the relationship across everything? I mean, it seems crazy to me that you have multiple organizations within a retailer. There's only one customer, yet there are multiple people with their hand out. Some that are upset, some that are happy, and there's not better. I mean, I'm not surprised at it, I guess is probably the wrong word, but it's almost like, what are the people that are doing it well doing?
Yeah, again, so much comes down to the size and complexity of the brand. But for the very large ones, where there is, they're selling through dozens or even globally hundreds of retailers, and it's a very complex internal organization, what they are doing to stay sane and just have just to kind of keep the riffraff to a minimum, they have scorecards that they're using with these retail media networks, and a very clear parameters of what they're looking for if they're going to consider a new retail media network to expand to. And it comes down to some combination of technical capabilities around media buying. Do they have, this type of, can we do self-serve here? Is there a data clean room? Is there, just sort of a technical aspect? Is it a growth retailer for them? The reporting and measurement, is that aligning with their expectations? Because these big brands will just get hit up all the time for, and any new retailer coming in launching a media network, which there's 250 of them now, and still keep seeing more get announced. So you have to have some kind of very scorecard to determine where you're spending money, and also those scorecards are then used to go back to those retailers and say, hey, we're going to blind the other ones, but here's how your media network is is performing versus the other ones that we're partnering with. What are we going to do to make up the ground there?
Yeah. And I mean, you talked about agentic initially, and I would love to talk about in a world where there are a few big players that matter, Amazon, Walmart, everyone else is sort of fighting for dollars. Hey, me too. We want our handout. Why can't we get extra margin? And now you have ChatGPT and Google responding to ChatGPT in the equation. And I want to talk about this along two dimensions. One is ad format, and another one is targeting. Because I think retail media, to me, retail media, you may disagree with me, it's like the best branding ever, space for, it's just primarily Amazon search ads. That's the bulk of the space. There's Amazon display, but it's not the 80/20. And Walmart is coming up. And
have you been talking to Jason Goldberg about this?
No. But at the end of the day, the bulk of the money is in the search, because that's where the intent. That's where the intent is. That's where the highest value shopper is. And so if someone's not buying there, if someone's researching there, and they're not researching on the site anymore because they're researching in the LLMs, what does that do to the retail media? Are we, like, first question, are retail media networks, especially the upstarts, facing an extinction event?
Okay, there's one thing I want to clarify, which I don't have an answer to, but it's just something to think about. One significant part of retail media networks' income comes from offsite media. And so that's essentially where the retailer is licensing their audience data to be activated by a brand doing a national TV buy or something like that, or social campaign. And so if you're Cheez-Its and you're buying, you're activating against a Albertsons audience on Paramount or something like that, So
all the new connected TV spend is, like, in particular you're speaking about.
Yes, that's a big one. It's not the only one. There is a lot of social media advertising that works in this way, where it's acted. The audience is actually a retailer audience, and so I think that to this point about there's, for anyone who's wondering what the heck I'm talking about with Jason Goldberg, he and I have had like a little bit of a debate about the size and scope of the retail media industry. And this is one area where I think retail media is really undercounted, because I don't think a lot of that media spend is considered retail media. And the only ones keeping score of that are the retailers, and they're not sharing how big their retail media business is.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
So anyway, I want to come back to agentic, but I just want to put that out there as, like,
I appreciate it.
The offsite activation is for some retailers, it's actually the first part of their retail media network, and for some, it's the only part of their retail media network. They're not even selling on owned and operated ad inventory.
That makes sense.
All right, can we move on?
Yeah, no, that's great. I appreciate it, because, look, part of the reason you're here is so we can learn.
That's right.
Yeah, no worries. Well, and this actually does come into this agentic conversation. But before we get into that, I want to hear from you guys, because there is a bit of a split amongst people as to how bullish or bearish they are about consumers actually being able to transact through AI agents in the near future. I want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think in the near term, for most consumers, we're talking about a better Google. And I think that's just the reality of it. It's like better research, better quality, more personalized to you, more context. And I think the platforms like your Shopify, Salesforce, and then the payment providers, Visa, PayPal, Google just announced that they partnered with PayPal, this week. So I think what we have is, the reality is Google's had a marketplace and not, and had and not, and they're going to have a marketplace. Whether it's good or not is a different question and a long 20-year debate. ChatGPT is going to have a marketplace. It's not going to be the only marketplace, because Amazon ain't going anywhere for a while. Walmart's not going anywhere for a while. And so I think the debate then comes down, like, what is the debate? To me, the only debate really to have is, like, consumers are going to keep shopping more ways. It's not like in the last 20 years, we've gone from people shopping primarily in stores to people shopping online in stores, social media, TikTok, all these, like, 5 to 7 places. That number is not going to shrink again, in my opinion. And so to me, that's the starting point. And so many people, I'm sure, can disagree or agree on that. But if you agree with that, to me, that means that agentic is one of, not exclusive, or 80-20 rule, for instance. And so in that case, what we have is another marketplace, which still means that a brand is going to be in a multipolar world. They're going to need a platform to unify data and orders from all these channels together that they and so the platforms and the .com sites, because the LLMs, they need to get their data somewhere from a source of truth. Who's the source of truth? The brand. And so ChatGPT's checkout is not going to be good as a brand's checkout. Why? Because there's too many features. Like, is ChatGPT going to support pre-orders or invoice terms, or there's just too many things. I think there are definitely scenarios it will take over. So to me, there's the research component. There's like the where to buy component, which again, Google's been doing where to buy for like 15 years. So it's like a better Google. Beyond that, there's the autonomous, there's the checkout on the site component, which is like a marketplace. Again, it's another marketplace, more powerful, granted. And then beyond that, there's like the autonomous.
Can you explain that? What do you mean? Checkout on the site is like a
checkout on
marketplace?
ChatGPT. That's what I mean. Like ChatGPT as a marketplace, not just where to buy, not just research. So like to me, those are the first three.
On the checkout part, I think ChatGPT and Google's been at this for a while. Closing the loop is hard. And if you don't understand all the aspects of what it means, we can put up a checkout. That's awesome. But now I'm in the business of customer communication, customer returns, customer
when's the item going to get there?
When's the item going to get there? Who owns the experience of closing the loop? And that's where, in my mind, this falls apart, and it won't be. I think the disruption that I feel like sometimes in our industry, there's like a lot of things that get blown out of proportion, or we take it to the nth degree, and oh my gosh, it's like this is the next thing. I mean, how many times did Facebook was Facebook Marketplace supposed to like disrupt it, and they failed and failed and failed and failed. Instagram was going to be the thing that totally disrupted retail because everyone was on social sites for so long. Failed. Like closing the loop is really hard, and I think that OpenAI or Perplexity, like they're not in the business of understanding that aspect and understanding how to manage consumers post sale.
It's a really good point about who has the responsibility for that stage, for each of the stages. Yeah, I agree with both of you that there's with Rick, what you said about, look, this is another channel. And people are still going to go to stores. People are still going to go to Sephora.com. There's like there are some distinct shopping experiences that are enjoyable, inspiring, just like a way to kill time. Like on a weekend, you're bored and you got your kids. It's like, okay, let's just go to the mall. I don't know what we're going to do. Like there will always be a place for that, and there will always be a place for even great digital retail experiences. I also think that AI, even in its current form, is an incredible research tool. You can do the scope of research you can do up front is so much more expansive, and it's I saw Sky from eMarketer just posted on LinkedIn like this terrible experience. She's an analyst at eMarketer. This terrible experience that she had like trying to get an agent to do her grocery shopping for her, and it was like so slow and clunky, and it got all these things wrong. And I think that there is there's a danger of throwing up your hands and saying, well, it just doesn't work. Like, and therefore it will never work. I just think that there is going to be some ways to make it considerably better that will unfold, and things to figure out. Like you said, Jess, the customer service and fulfillment aspect, that's going to be a big hurdle to cross. Who has responsibility for that?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day,
I am excited about it. I'm pretty bullish on it on the spectrum. It's sort of fun to
I mean, kind of if you go
think
back
about.
to research, where to buy, checkout, and then the fourth is sort of like, call it autonomous buying, whether it's sort of like directed, you're sending out. It's kind of like when you go back to Bill Gates or like AT&T. I'm old now, so I used to see these ads about these little dog agents that you would go off on your computer, and it was like, I don't know. Anyone remember Web TV? I may be the only one, but
No.
the see, there it is. But LLMs are not. My opinion is LLMs are not enough. It's good at word prediction. It's good at writing and research, but it's very hard at understanding the complexity of human dynamics and emotions. And I think that's going to come out more and more, like the dark side of like LLMs, and just in terms of like it's not smart. It's not smart enough, because I think we've all done these things where you do research and you're like, actually, I'm not sure that's right, and then
Yes.
the 4 hours that they spent researching something for you was completely useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the probably a little bit of the risk is if there is a human perception that just by default the LLM is smarter than you are, you might be missing an opportunity. And if you bring the retail piece of it into that, you might end up paying more. You might end up getting a product that's faulty. I mean, you would hope not, but I think the gut check of like, am I just fully trusting the LLM because I think it's smarter than me as a consumer? Or is this a piece of information I'm taking in my research journey or my discovery journey? Yeah.
No, I mean, it's not going to replace all the things that Instacart needs to like make a normal shopping experience, like on an online scenario. So like replacement products and chatting with an agent who's in the store, who sees
Right.
is holding up the banana. Do you want this banana? Oh, it's not here. The packaging is different than we talked about. All those things, and an agent is still going to have to engage with you, which is like, again, it's better. Is it like generational better? I just don't think we're there yet, and I don't think we're likely to be there in the next 3 to 5 years. But I want to go back a little bit to the format, et cetera, because at the end of the day, some of these companies are going to need to make money eventually, and there are two business models: subscription and ads. That's it. There are no other models. And if you look at how many of these companies are likely to survive,
T-shirts. I mean,
right?
think outside the box, Rick.
Exactly. They're going to buy a browser. They're going to buy a
Yeah.
browser. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to happen. It's Google, it's ChatGPT, it's Amazon. Like there's going to be maybe one or two beyond that, but like Perplexity, I mean, God bless you guys. But trillion-dollar companies going up against, it's a challenge. So the research side, the format of the ads, as opposed to social media, as opposed to endemic like products in retail search or retail display media or connected TV, how are the ads going to look within these LLMs? Like, what's your thoughts there, Kiri? And like, how many ads can they put forward?
So I want to point out, because when I mention this to people, most people have no idea. Microsoft has had ads inside their LLM Copilot for 2 years since they launched it, and they, it was sort of ads like you would expect it initially. Like you're searching, I want to go on a Caribbean vacation with my family. Like, where should I go? And then there might be an ad for a hotel. This is sort of obvious kind of stuff.
Sure.
But it's progressed. They announced this a few months ago, showroom ads, where it's an immersive kind of experience within Copilot. I think that who did they test it with? They tested it with a car manufacturer to do a car showroom within Copilot. Another really interesting ad unit that they have is one which is dynamically creates copy based on what it knows about the consumer. So
Tell me more about this.
Embarrassingly wide feet for a female. And if my LLM knows that about me, then an ad for a running shoe could point out, like, yeah, they have it available in wide width as well, which is what you tend to ask for. So that really playing to the strengths of an LLM, you think about like, oh, it's not just a marketer coming up with a couple of variations of ad copy. The LLM can actually customize an ad to that user. I think in the future as well, got to remember like a lot of our interactions with LLMs so far is with text and chat and typing and seeing words on a page, but things are going to progress into a more visual format. They're moving in that way already. If I see an ad for a shoe, I can have my avatar in my LLM and get it to show me, do a virtual try on with like some really good images based on my like virtual avatar. So I think that ads within LLMs have the possibility of being so amazing. I'm really excited about it. I think brands, and coming back to retail media, this is the thing. Like for brands should be excited about new and innovative ways of getting their brand in front of consumers, and they're spending a lot of time with these trusted companions. Like people have full on relationships with their LLMs now, which is kind of scary, but that sort of putting yourself into that surface where there's a lot of trust, and that's a great opportunity for a brand. And that's where the retailers should be pretty concerned, because brands with certain parts of their budget, at least they're pretty fair weather friends. Like they're advertising on retailers right now, but it's the hot new thing comes along, they're going to be right over there spending money. So that's where I think retailers need to be thinking about what are the different scenarios that could unfold with agentic commerce, and being prepared for demand to fall off a little bit, particularly with on-site advertising.
Mm-hmm. You've played around with some of the like native shopping LLMs like Rufus and some of those like on Amazon. And do you find anybody doing it well on site? So we've talked about ChatGPT and Google and Copilot, but have you found any that are doing it well on site?
The thing, I wouldn't call Rufus an agent. I guess that it's the most advanced shopping assistant, and I think that Amazon's doing a really great job. I put them at the front of the pack in terms of the capabilities of Rufus, how easy it is to interact with. It can give some pretty good results, but it's not doing things for me yet.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is a completely different.
They talked about it. They've talked about like they've hinted at buy for me. Like
yeah.
I mean, Alexa did.
Yeah. Well, I tried buy for me. That's an interesting one, because they rolled that out a few months ago, and I barely see that in my search results now. So they don't seem to have really shifted that forward much. Yeah. But Amazon, that's the thing. Amazon, they just test so many things. Out of 20 experiments, there'll be like one or two winners, and that's what moves ahead. So I'm always reluctant to look at these tests, and if they don't work out, it's like, oh well, that'll never work, because you see the same concept show up like somewhere else in the business. Like they're testing it over here, but then it gets integrated over there. And so I don't know, when Amazon releases things, I don't read so much into them, because they just test so many things, which is part of why they're so successful.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to go back to a point you made, because I think it's an important point in the journey of just performance marketing generally, of which retail media is a component, which is almost like the death of the creative. And if creative becomes prompt-based brand guidelines, as opposed to every brand in the world with studio, like there's still going to be some of that for like brand showcase highlight things, but across the catalog, it seems less likely. The idea that the network or the LLM that the network is is a member of, or like however these sort of like layers stack together, the creative emerges from the dialogue. Can you unpack that a little bit more for me? Like, what does that mean to sort of brand budgets? Does that give them more budget? Does that shift budgets to the winners there if you're a retailer that doesn't have that kind of capability?
I want to make sure I understand the question. Is it like when you say creative, is that like really at the concept of a USP for a product, or are you talking about like what does a product detail page look like?
More like if you're at an LLM saying I want to buy the best coffee mug and I want to do it for my camping trip, and with nothing more than a brand giving a catalog to me, the LLM is dynamically generating ads within context of where they see the consumer using it. They might even display videos of the product in place. They might even compare multiple products together within that same scene. They might have a reviewer, like an AI bot, talk to them and interact with it, like showing the products, like with, like, here's an example. Like, what is the most popular image on Amazon? Like that annotated image, right? If you go back to your bobsled days where it's like, here's the features and it's all on the image. If that's dynamically generated by video in the AI LLM, like what does that do to just the entire sort of brand advertising ecosystem?
I don't know. It's a really good question. It seems like I'm interested to get your perspective, Jess. Like this is a pain point for brands, and it has been for a long time. Is generating creative and
what's going to work?
Different dimensions.
Yeah.
It's like,
and for different audiences, because depending on where you are in the journey, like there's an acquisition and there's that part versus the retargeting versus the so it's kind of managing creative that not only is exciting and explains, but it's tailored to where that customer is in their journey.
Yeah, I mean, if done well, it seems. Is it such a bad thing? I don't know. Like
I think you're saying, Rick, is like is the state of the creative industry as it relates to brands is that the next phase of disruption? Is that kind of what you're saying? It's because as LLMs are picking up different information or picking it up from what's available on the site.
We're really out in blue sky mode, just so you know.
Yeah.
Like what could be, and then like how do you even charge for such impressions? If someone watches a video that the brand didn't generate, the LLM generated it, but it would the time, are they paying for time? It's almost like a YouTube model, but it's within the conversation. I'm like way off on the deep end, guys. So somebody please just like rein
you back in.
Kiri, rein me back in.
No, I think it's an interesting question. There is something though we haven't talked about yet, and I want to make sure we get to it with time. And it's Kiri, your perspective on where retail media sometimes falls, and that retailers or brands like might rush too quickly to go there versus like getting some of the table stakes, building loyalty, investing in other aspects of the customer experience. So do you find like that people are in this rush for margin or in this rush to like do a Me Too retail media type strategy that they miss opportunities to invest dollars differently that actually might create a better customer experience, might generate more long-term revenue, might increase LTV? Love your perspective on that.
Yeah, actually, I can kind of tie the agentic piece together with this. I was in a conversation last week with a number of retailers talking about what happens with agentic commerce, and like what the big concern for these retailers is what happens when there's perfect price competition. If like you're in market for Crest teeth whitening strips and you ask your LLM to help price shop. If you know the price at every retailer in a 10-mile radius and online, the concern from a retailer is with perfect price competition that it's going to be a race to the bottom. But the reality is even with something like teeth whitening strips, you're like, there's so many dimensions that you make a purchase on just for a commodity. Do you want it to be delivered? Are you going to be driving past the CVS on the way to pick up your kids from school? It might still be better for you to do that rather than waiting the next day for a delivery. Right. Do you have a loyalty card at Target and you're trying to get to the next tier or something like that? There are so many dimensions that we make just buying decisions on beyond price. We're pretty close to perfect price competition now with the internet.
Yeah.
And we still
totally agree, Kiri.
Still don't. Yeah. I was speaking with someone else as well, and we're having this conversation about perfect price competition, and I said, "But do you shop at Walmart?" And she said, "No, I never shop at Walmart." Just for various reasons, probably just the reasons that first pop into your head. And like, well, that's generally the cheapest place to buy things. So you still don't shop there because she's just a consumer, doesn't identify as being a Walmart shopper. It's not part of her routine. It's just not, she's not someone who shops there. So I don't see, I think retailers need to think about what is their USP as a retailer.
Yes.
Is it store footprint? Is it loyalty? Is it the experience that you have walking in? Is it assortment? Is it the returns policy? Is it that is the core of retail at the end of the day, not who has, who's 1 cent less on Crest whitening strips.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, if you're the manufacturer, then you're setting the prices. So, I mean, you universalize this. It's golf clubs, and you're buying Callaway golf clubs, and you can't sell. A reseller can't afford to sell Callaway golf clubs for any length of time less than what the manufacturer tells them, because they're not going to have many golf clubs for very long. Similar to Crest. Like, where does someone find a 5 cent So I think the idea of perfect price competition is a little bit too worried. And I 100% agree with you that the problem is your value prop.
Yeah.
Do you have one or do you not have one? Do you understand who your customer are? And do you understand your customers better than anyone else?
Yes. Yeah, what are you competing on? And then there is a sort of insufferable experience on Amazon these days where there's just 1,001 variations of the same thing.
Yeah.
When there's true differentiation, it helps. Like, I want this, I want a muffin, but it needs to be gluten-free and egg-free. Or I want something that is like, I want to buy something that is minority owned, or there's so many dimensions on which we buy things and at different points. So is it differentiated? Is it, or what is, sometimes that can just be distribution. It's just the thing that's available in the most places, and you leaning on your scale as a giant conglomerate. That is a serious advantage. And going back to what we talked about at the top, challenger brands can have a significant advantage as well of being like super crystal clear on their value prop without all the baggage of a big conglomerate as well. So I think there's room for everyone except the blatant copycats.
Yeah.
So
although they're doing pretty well. The Lulu dupes and the free people dupes, they're living their best life in some aspects.
They are differentiated. They're differentiated on price. It's just it's the dupe of the dupe of the dupe that might get cut out.
Right. Yeah. The dupity dupe, the Temu dupe.
Yeah.
Dupity dupe. Brilliant.
Hey, I'm here all day, guys.
I love
That's what
it.
I'm here for.
I love it. I want to talk about loyalty for a second, because you mentioned it as almost in passing, but it's like a pretty killer and I think it relates to the Walmart comment you made. I think it relates to the Sephora comment you made, and it relates to the price competition. Like you can only compete on one of these dimensions: trust or price. And ultimately, loyalty is about trust. Why do you go back to this place? How do you think? And this is again, I'm going back to Blue Sky a little bit. How do you think loyalty plays in the agentic world?
Yeah, it goes back to the dimensions that retailers can compete on, and even brands as well. I shared a really good example in a recent newsletter about. Have you heard of Built, the protein bar company?
Yeah,
Built.
Yeah.
BILT, I think.
I think
Maybe?
it's just the
Built.
regular way you spell
All right.
Built. Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get cheeky with it.
Yeah. New York, they misspelled it
Yes.
for us.
There's another company that's BILT, but that is a financial services,
Got it.
like a credit card company. This is the protein bar.
Apologies to Built.
And they have, so I think that they were originally a D2C company, and now they're distributed in a lot of stores, including Walmart. But they have their loyalty program on the web, where you can upload receipts from other retailers, and then that counts towards your Built rewards program as well. And there's, you can get extra points from writing a review, and there's a lot of these like loyalty program facilitation softwares out there that enable this. But this is a way to, I think, for brands in that way you can do it, but retailers as well. It's just that they can be so sticky and so compelling. Not necessarily like it's not always going to be a purely economic decision for a customer, but there's some things that are just nice to get. Like I like when I go do my grocery pickup at Kroger when they give me free samples, and so and it's like sporadic, so it's kind of like a psychological trick. Like I don't know if I'm going to get it, but if I shop there
those
more
Costco
often,
samples,
I might get some more samples.
You can live on those Costco samples.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not technically a loyalty program, but these are the perks that can differentiate you as a retailer and give people a reason to keep coming back. I think it's a huge potential driver of differentiation in the future as there's more perfect competition.
No, that makes sense. It's I think it's interesting. We talk about reviews and loyalty and the mix between those. There's also like information and misinformation that surfaces in these LLMs, like what's real. Where do you think the LLMs eventually get to some kind of brand dashboard for correction of information similar to like the Amazon brand experience? Or do you think they're not wanting that kind of control from the outside?
I was just laughing because I'm thinking about benchmarking against the Amazon brand experience.
I'm not saying it's great, right?
Please.
Kiri says, do better.
Aim high, guys.
Aim
real
higher. Come on, Rufus.
A brand dashboard. So you're a brand. You're selling on ChatGPT's marketplace, and they give you a suite of seller tools to help improve your visibility.
Or correct information.
Exactly. Correct information. Help target your products and things better with your own prompts that then the LLM can use as inputs.
Well, I mean, it's sort of TBD on where the LLMs are going to go with this, or if they're going to continue to ingest product content information from retailers. And this is a challenge for brands when they're trying to manage retailer.com product information.
Right.
As well. And I only a couple of years ago was having this issue on Instacart where there'd be like a bag of chips and it would say like 5 ounces in image, but then it would say 50 in the description. I don't know which one it is.
Right.
And at least at that point in time, the brand couldn't request product content updates from Instacart. It had to come from the retailer.
Wow. Yeah.
And retailers, the product feeds that they're using for product content, that it's just not the top priority in those retailers, frankly.
Right.
But that's a terrible experience for that brand. If you're that brand of chips, you need that product content to be updated, and you can't do it directly. You got to go through an intermediary who doesn't really care. It's not a priority. And so I think that's a challenge today, that brands want to have correct information on their PDPs on 30 different retailer.coms, like in the most sophisticated scenarios. And they might want to be updating that content, for seasonal content and stuff like that. So that is a huge overhead issue in these companies. And to your point about creative, that is the really, like, that's the dark side of creative, I guess, is like there's the real marketing strategy of it. Like, how do we want our product to resonate with consumers?
Yep.
How do we convey our USP in a lifestyle image? And then there's the tedious stuff that takes 95% of the time, which is getting the right image on the website of all the places that it's sold. And that is actually like the huge, that's what people don't really talk about, I think, is like, it's so manual and tedious, and that's still a problem that we have today.
No, it makes sense.
I'm pretty sure AI is going to solve it all.
Exactly.
So
AI is going to solve it all. I think that's a good place to end this discussion. We have gone over time, but I think in a very good way for us. This has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much, Kiri. I mean, obviously, you're welcome back anytime from both Jess and I.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been really fun chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. Really, like I said, it's so great to have you, and excited to see kind of where your next travels take you, and all the conversations and the things I'm sure we're going to keep learning from you as you're unpacking and helping us unpack the next evolution of this shopping and retail media world. Thanks, Kiri.
That's going to do it for this week's Watson Weekend. If you've made it this far, you're either a retail masochist or you just love the sound of our voices.
I'm going to say it's option 2. Either way, we appreciate you. If you've enjoyed today's show, give us a follow, give us a like wherever you're listening. Leave us a review, preferably with 5 stars. We'll take 4.5 if you're feeling a little bit stingy. Yeah, it's okay.
And don't just lurk on the channel. Share this with a friend, colleague.
That's right. That's right. We're kind of like your little sidekick, helping you bring everybody along in your organization. You can find us on LinkedIn, your Spotify, all the places, and all the links are in the show notes too.
Big thanks to the community, our listeners, as well as the Kaplan Snacks that keep this circus running. Sponsors, you know who you are. And if you're not a sponsor yet,
I mean, what are you actually doing with your marketing budget? Give us a ring, call us, send an email. Rick loves when people slide into his DMs. It's his favorite place.
Until next time, I'm Rick Watson.
And I'm Jessica Liseski. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. Now, you can feel like you can go on and do something better with your life. We'll see you next week.
Bye.